Hi, and welcome to another episode of Can't Stop the Growth. I'm your host, Chad Peterman, and today we're going to feature part 2 of a talk I did at one of our future leaders meetings here at Peterman Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing on Simon Sinek's new book, The Infinite Game. Talk a lot about in the back half of this particular recording about how to create that safe space, how people can impact others through their actions and ultimately grow a company. So without further ado, check out the audio from this recording. Thanks. Actually, the interview I had yesterday asked me an interesting question, one I'd never been asked in an interview, but she said, "What is your leadership style?" Okay. Pretty good question. I wasn't prepared to answer this one. You know, as I began to think about it, I kind of thought, what is my style? And I've always been a firm believer in, and I've said it many a times, of kind of a popular leadership term of servant leadership. And so I've always been a believer of that. I've had numerous examples in my life of people who are leading like that. Leading from behind, pushing their people forward. And my style has always been, I want to find really great people. I want to provide an environment where they feel safe, where they don't feel like I'm looking over their shoulder all the time, where they don't feel like, oh God, if we screw this up, there will be hell to pay. I'm sure some of you are laughing like, yeah, I'd like to see that. That'd be funny. My biggest thing is I want to find really great people. I want to provide all the resources humanly possible to make you successful. And then I want to get out of your way. I'm not here. If I want to micromanage the hell out of the department, I don't need you. I guess I'll just do it myself. But I think through you, we can grow this more. We can impact more people. We can provide more opportunity. And so my philosophy is always, like I said, just get out of the way. I think too many people sometimes are in the way. And then on the other side of things, don't provide that environment for people to be successful. And I've got work to do as well. I mean, my biggest thing is, the one thing I struggle with is having those conversations to unveil what people are struggling with. Those are hard. In my mind, those are hard conversations. We have people that in our building that do it very well, can uncover that, those pieces and then start to make ground with people who are struggling. And so that's one thing I'm constantly working on, is to better create that environment where people feel safe, where people feel like it's okay that I don't know something. It's okay that I'm struggling with this. I'm going to reach out for some help. And when we're creating this environment as leaders, the ultimate thing that we can focus on is, how do we touch each person? It's my belief that if we make a conscious effort to touch each person that we are in charge of leading, if that is our number one priority, it oftentimes falls to the back burner of the day-to-day. Some people call it the whirlwind. And in our business, it's as intense or even more intense than most industries, because we are in the emergency service business. When a customer calls, we're coming. So on a day-to-day basis, while you may plan out your day and it may seem as though I've got this great plan, depending on the weather, depending on customer needs, whatever it may be, that day can be thrown into a whirlwind. And oftentimes these conversations that we need to have with our people, that we need to have to be effective leaders, get tossed to the wayside, which is understandable. It's when the whirlwind comes, it's extremely powerful because we're in business to take care of customers. We have to take care of them. But at the same time, we also spend a lot of time when we don't touch our people individually. We spend a lot of time managing things that aren't going quite right. People who aren't following directions, people who aren't following this process. We spend a lot of our time doing that. It's my belief that if we dedicate the time to spend with our people individually and talk to them and find out what they're struggling with, that time that we use to manage all of the, day-to-day headaches of management, it's my belief that those start to go away. And those start to go away because people begin to buy into something bigger than their paycheck because they know you care. You care about their growth. You care about what they're struggling with. You care about where they want to go in their career. You care about all those things. And then all of a sudden, that person who just barely woke up in time and just barely got to the job, didn't do the paperwork right, missed a step, the customer's calling in upset, those start to go away. Because people start to connect with, oh, maybe I could be a little better. I know how to do it, it's just I don't care. Well, unfortunately, one thing that you hear a lot in management circles is, well, if the guys would just care a little more, they would get this done. Well, my challenge to most leaders is, how much do you care? And as they say in anything, actions speak louder than words. So if you do truly care, how do you show each individual that you do care? Because unfortunately in leadership, you got to bend first. You're going to have to bend. You're going to have to bend, and you're going to have to show care, and that care may not be reciprocated. But I'm confident that if you keep showing it, they're either going to figure it out or they're going to see their way out. Taking the time with our people is the most important thing we do as a leader. Your people will follow you. They will run through a brick wall when they know you care. It is impossible, in my mind, to be a leader if you don't truly care about your people. And care comes in many different forms. There are many different ways to show it. Some people like it different ways. Some people need a hug. Others need a pat on the back, whatever it may be. Some need a stern talking to. It comes in all different forms. But as leaders, we're called to show it however it takes to connect with that particular person. One of the things he talks about in this chapter that's interesting is an example from Ford Motor Company. And so I actually had the privilege to speak this past year with this guy, which was amazing. His name's Alan Mullally. He was the former CEO of Ford Motor Company. He took over in 2006. If you know anything about the Ford Motor Company story, Ford was one of the only car manufacturers to not take the government bailout. He brought them all the way back from, I think the first year he took over, they lost tens of billions of dollars. And he points out this example of something we actually do in our management meetings now. And I don't know if some of the managers know this story, but when he came into Ford, he wanted to learn everything he could about the organization. And so he instituted this practice called a business plan review, a BPR. And essentially, each manager was responsible for their different tasks, and it was color-coded, a red, a yellow, or a green, dependent on green was good to go, yellow was, hey, we got some issues, but we got a plan, and red was like, I need help. We've got a problem. And so as he first conducted these BPRs, with his management team, and there again, understand Ford, global company, you've got heads of different regions and different country, all kinds of stuff. No one ever put red. No one. For months they went. And he kept asking the same question. We're losing billions of dollars. There anything wrong? And they just kept putting green, yellow, until one day, finally, in one of the reviews, a guy named Mark Fields, who was, I believe, head of the American division of Ford, put a red up there. And as the story goes, Alan sat back in his chair and just clapped and said, now we found something we can work on. And all the other managers were, were kind of taken back, like, oh my God, I can't believe he would even admit that there's something wrong. And they came back the next week, and Mark had the red up there again. And they talk about how most of the managers didn't even expect to see Mark there because, there was something wrong in his department, and probably he wasn't going to have a job after he did that. And what Mr. Mullally found was that over time, he started to break down those walls. And the walls that he broke down were in an effort to create that comfortable environment where people could admit wrong, could admit they needed help. And it was the culture in Ford before he came that, it was kind of that browbeating, you're going to do this, and if something's wrong, you're going to get fired, and we'll find somebody else who can do it, and this, that, and the other. And so people were just scared to death about what their job, what they were doing. Everything was just in just so much anxiety. And so as he broke down these walls is when he started to turn things around, because people were willing to admit that I got a problem. How are we going to fix this? There was no more sugarcoating. He wrote a very, very good book, which I can't remember the name of right now, but it's basically the story of Ford Motor Company that someone from the Detroit Free Press wrote about Mullally and Ford and their resurgence and different stuff like that. If you ever get a chance to meet him, he is a very dynamic leader, like one of those guys who's like, you're just like, God, I feel like I'm watching him on TV, but I'm pretty sure he's standing right there. Just very polished and you can just tell that he understands the importance of people. He understands the importance of a safe environment and what that can do for you as a leader. And so, the thing we have to get over is that we oftentimes try to, as I spoke about earlier, try to separate work and personal time. And unfortunately, as leaders, we have to understand that the feelings that people have are far more important than performance. They're going to take those feelings with them. They're going to take them home. They're going to have them with them. Their fears and insecurities are with them no matter where they are. And it's when we can knock down those walls, uncover those fears and insecurities that those people have. That's when you as the leader are able to unlock that person's potential. Driving on somebody to perform better, to do better, or here's a technique, I don't understand why you can't do it. Why can't you talk to this person? Most of the time, these people are scared. They don't know what to do. If you ask anybody who's doing something and it's not what you're wanting as a leader, if you take the time to sit down with them and uncover what is it that you are struggling with? How can I help you? What is it? And then you take the time to invest in that person, they'll start performing. I hear so many companies, especially in our industry, that, they put a number up on a board and say, you better hit this or we'll find somebody who can. Really? That's your plan? That's your plan? I mean, come on. Really? We're going to put it up on a board and say, go hit it. How? How are they going to do that? Do we just think that they just picked up these skills like, hey, go read this book? Or, well, we hired him, so they should be good at, doing this. He said he had 5 years experience, so he should be able to go do this. No, he's not going to know how to do it. But we have to take the time to understand what they do and don't know. And once we do that, then that guy can go hit that number. He'll exceed that number because he's motivated. He understands that there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger vision. When you tell a guy, I can't even imagine if you're a company and you put a number on the board and say, go hit this and provide no support to your people, what the things that your people are going to do to try to hit that number or not do. The level of support has to be there. We're going through a change right now where we came up short on the level of support that we were providing to our people. We're trying to grow, and we're growing. Great year, best year ever. All this stuff's going great. It'd be easy to kind of sit back and say, seems to be working. We'll keep it riding. But, and this was not a discovery of mine or anything like that. It was brought up in a review we had with a guy where he mentioned that, we need more support. The guys out here need help. And there again, it's very easy to look at a department that is growing, I think, 25% this year and say, support? What the hell are you talking about? You guys are doing fine. Get on out there. Keep going. Let it rip. Maybe we can do it again next year. It's very easy to look at it that way. But there again, that would be looking at business as a finite game. In our company, business is an infinite game. It's our goal to impact as many people as humanly possible. So in an effort to do that, we're making changes to put more support in place for those guys. The scary part is that if we're growing at 20% now with a lack of support, what can providing extra support do for that? That's where business gets really fun. Because then it's not about the percentage that you're growing. It's that providing that support, you've got people in that department that are growing. That's the infinite game. How do we get them better? How do we take a 20-something-year-old kid and say, you're going to be a really good technician one day? How do we make them a technician? How can we provide a level of support to where they're that technician in 8 months? It can be done, but we've got to put the effort toward providing the support. And that's what's meant by creating that safe space, creating that environment where people can excel far beyond what they ever thought. And the reason their expectation is so low is because most companies aren't out there trying to provide the support needed. And I'm not saying we're perfect, we're not. But what I am saying is that we are always trying to provide more. Sometimes we screw up, we've screwed this one up. But the cool thing is we've got really smart people who are going to not only provide that support, but also provide a blueprint for other departments so we don't do the same thing again. How can we get ahead of this train? Let's learn from, there again, it's not a mistake. It's just, kind of short-sighted. Okay, we just didn't do it as well as we could have. Okay, well, luckily, we have really good people and we'll continue on. But how do we make it better? How do we build something that is the ultimate support network? In my mind, if we build the ultimate support network, we'll build an unbelievable company. Because that's truly what work is. If you don't want to go to work for just a paycheck, it'd be sure as heck a lot more fun to go to work because it's a great support system. So why can't we create that? I'm pretty sure if we do, the rest of it will take care of itself. Because we're going to attract the best people, we're going to support the best people, and ultimately we're going to turn out the best product. There's no doubt in my mind. I've seen it. When we provide the level of support needed for people, we turn out an unbelievable product. But sometimes we don't have the people in the right place. And by place, I mean we let that revenue goal sneak in there and get in front of those people. And that's when we get customer complaints. People don't feel like they got what they paid for. But when we blow people away, and the reason we blow people away is because the person out there wants to get better. They want to provide a service unlike any that customer has ever seen. When we do that, you can't be stopped. Because you're never going to learn everything, but it's sure as hell a lot of fun to go on that journey. It's a lot of fun to try to figure out as much as you can. As I said earlier, I have so much fun connecting the dots with all the things that are happening. And when you're looking for it, when that's your mindset, you find them a lot of the time. You do. Just yesterday, I'm sitting in my office. Can't believe what. I think I had a meeting or something. Yeah, we had a meeting in the morning. I come back to my office. Guy pulls me in and says, hey, really appreciate that class you took me to. It was awesome. Just want to let you know that me and a new guy who's struggling a bit, we're going to have coffee once a week so I can help him. And it seems like a small thing. Seems like something kind of inconsequential. Great, man. Go get your coffee. It's great. For me, and what we're trying to build of that ultimate support network, with someone volunteering like that, someone stepping up, that made my day, because that was evidence that what we are creating here is in fact contagious. And when a company supports someone, that they're willing to reach out and support someone else. And that's what we're in this for. I mean, if we can do that, life gets pretty damn easy. I mean, so you're telling me all I got to do is reach out and help somebody? Yeah, sure. And that's what happens. It starts to compound. It does. I've seen it. I saw it yesterday. And it couldn't have happened at a more perfect time. Think about it. I've listened to 2 podcasts, bought a book, read a chapter in a book, and they all are related. All 4 things in what is now the 5th day of the week. All of that lined up. It all makes sense when you're looking for the right thing. I promise you. It's crazy. You start to put the pieces together. And when you're looking for the right stuff, podcast, articles, people's actions, they all start to line up. There starts to become proof every day that what you're doing is for a bigger cause. You start to connect to that bigger piece of what it is you're actually doing. What it is you're actually doing is not chasing a paycheck. You're impacting others. You're working to grow yourself. The more you grow, the more you'll impact others. You know that example about the coffee? He grew a couple of weeks ago. He's sharing it. That's my message. That's why I stand up here today. I learned all 4 of those things this week. I just want to tell you guys. To me, that's important. If I would have kept that all to myself, that ain't going to do a whole lot. I mean, I'd feel pretty good. Like, oh, cool, I read a book. Listened to a podcast. It's wonderful. But in sharing, I hope to inspire something in you that allows you to go out there and be a better leader. Be better for the people that you lead. And you don't have to lead people to do this. You don't have to have anybody under you. You can lead every day by growing. When people see that you're growing, they're going to want to follow. Everyone wants to follow that person who's getting better each day. There's not a whole lot of people following those that are pretty satisfied with where they're at. Yeah, this looks good. I think I'm fine. Not a whole lot of people following that person. I'm not following them. Seems kind of boring. The things that line up in your life, the environment you create, whether that be for a group of people you're leading or whether that be the environment that you create for yourself. When you create a safe environment where you're honest with yourself, where you're honest with your team, where you understand that there are things that can be worked on and you can always be getting better, you will grow infinitely. You'll never stop.